So let's begin to get clarity on your true and authentic wants. I mean, for a lot of people, the biggest revelation, as I mentioned, is actually becoming aware of wants that are not, in fact, true and authentic. Things you may have been pursuing for a long time, maybe again your whole life, expectations you've had, but now you realize they aren't inherently important to you. And again, that can be discouraging or freeing. This personal development industry, as I mentioned, we are talking about what we want to go after and achieve, and sometimes the greatest joys are what we let go of. As an example, as of this recording, my wife and I have been talking a while about a second home somewhere warmer, something with warm water. She adores open water swimming, but there's a good bit of complexity in our big family, and we're picky about where we live. I want trails to run on and mountain bike on, mountains to fill my soul. She wants warm, open water. We like a dry, arid climate, aren't fond of humidity. Where can we find such a place? And I've had a hard time envisioning finding something that would fulfill all those things. But now all of a sudden we got a new idea: getting a large RV, taking off for weeks or months at a time, having adventures with the kids, get us out of our norm and explore with the intent of maybe finding a place that we'd want a semi-permanent residence in. Maybe we'll even find out we don't want a second home, but we can just do extended RV trips. The point again is clarifying what is the motive? What are the reasons we want to do something to achieve this desire, this want, and then brainstorming different ways of attaining that goal and not expecting the norms around us or the norms that we just tend to come to right off the bat. We are so often in and of ourselves very narrow in how we see going after and achieving a certain objective. And if we'll open our minds or seek other people, we can find different ways to, again, here's the desire, here's the reason I want it. Now, how do I go about it? And we can find different ways. To reiterate again, we want to find that true and authentic want clarified by fully understanding our motives for wanting it, which I'll repeat over and over and over. We want to know our reasons. They're the roots and the foundation for the want. We must be clear on what the motives really are and agree with them, and not being in alignment with that is what causes us so often to not find the success and the fulfillment that we think we ought to be finding. So to that, your motives and reasons. I find so many good intentioned people who will cite their motive, their reason is to serve others. And I want to talk on that for just a second. Because we want to feel like, oh, it's not for me, it's for other people. But here's the deal. I have never found it to really be true. Mother Teresa, Gandhi, Martin Luther King, name all these selfless people. They gained so much for themselves from all that they do. Not that they were just self-serving and going about that as a manipulative thing. They were authentic, but it filled something in them. They served others. It massively fulfilled them. I mean, in my lifetime, I've known so many unbelievably caring and gracious and serving and compassionate people. And the ones who realized that they got just as much or more out of it than the people that they were serving were so much more joyful in it, so much more in peace, so much more enduring in their work than those, as opposed to those who tried to deny that they had any self-interest in the deal. I don't see it endure. I don't see it peacefully and healthfully happening. I'm a fan of a guy named Anthony DeMello. He's an Indian Jesuit priest and psychotherapist. And more than his views on spirituality overall, the guy's just a hero to me when it comes to flat out behavioral psychology. He's got a book called Awareness. It's a top shelf book for me. He is bold and blunt and dramatically insightful regarding our human condition. He takes aim at altruism, which I'll loosely define as the belief in or practice of selfless concern for the well-being of others. Selflessness, again, as my Christian upbringing would cite it, dying to self was something ritualistically preached from the pulpit. Well, Anthony, I believe wisely claims it's impossible. And in my experience on earth with myself and anyone else, I just agree. Anything we do, any way we serve and give feeds ourselves. Also, we get something from it. And that's okay. We're people, we're not bricks, and we want to be needed and worthwhile. It's what gives us purpose and fulfillment. So fill your inherent need to be needed and worthwhile by helping other people. So psychopaths, serial killers or whatever, they fill their personal needs by giving people death. Well, you can fill your needs by giving people life, but own it for what it provides you and be proud and grateful. Case in point on this, because it's just such an important point when we come into these wanting anything. Some people don't want, to admit they want anything, that they have any ambition. Even my friend, Dr. Randy James, my dear friend, my co-host at the True Life podcast, used to question, Christian ambition. Can we have ambition? Well, here's a case in point. Just over a year ago from this writing, my family and I put a whole lot into helping a single mom and her three kids. We were incredibly invested financially, time wise, and with our hearts. My wife was even at the delivery of this girl's third illegitimate baby. They all lived at our home for a good while. We ultimately got her a car, got her involved in a local church, got her an apartment, all the trappings. Then a few days before Christmas, she took the kids and what she could fit into her car and she skipped town. And further, she accused us of expecting too much from her. And she went back to the projects and drugs and poverty. And initially, we were just dumbstruck, heartbroken, angry. I was. But with counsel, we realized our folly and ignorance. We showered provision on someone who wasn't healthy enough to receive it. But to the point here, was it all selfless? Did we give solely for her and her kids' needs? No, not at all. We got plenty out of it. The experience of giving and even of the heartbreak there taught my family, so much. We gained so much of a lesson out of that. And, I personally felt grateful we had enough abundance to give to somebody else. And I'd be lying if I said there wasn't some pride and ego attached to that. I'm just not devoid. I'm not all holy. It feels good to be a provider. And we hope we planted seeds in her kids that may come to fruition someday. That feels good. Other people, of course, knew about it. We got kudos from them. I'm telling you here, and some will think better of me because of the story, which is fine. I'll receive and accept that. It was a good thing to do. It really was. But it wasn't selfless. I got plenty from it. Again, wisdom from a hard lesson. I'm making lots of money and gaining much acclaim these days due to so many hard lessons in my life. There's payoff for me. If I believe in redemption, that we can get payoff from anything ultimately. I mean, if you give $1 to a homeless guy at a street corner, you get a little dopamine hit for having done something nice to another person. I mean, that's natural and good. So instead of telling your family or friends, how you specifically gave money to a homeless person, you could also just as well say, at least to yourself, hey, I'm proud of myself for giving myself a desired dopamine hit by helping somebody instead of getting it from something 100% self-serving like shopping or entertainment or social media. So if part of your desire is to help and serve and care for other people, own it as something you want for what it gives you as well, in addition to what they get. That's ownership of it. Something else important here before you embark on, as we're going to end with listing out and discerning our true and authentic wants. In this personal development and self-help industry, you hear a lot about wanting it more and believing it for yourself. Those are two mantras we hear. You got to want it more. You got to believe it for yourself. I know some people I respect tremendously who are shouting that a lot. And I'm going to challenge that some. I want to push back on it a little bit. I mean, if someone has to tell you to want it more, the truth is you don't want it. Not much. The kid dragging his feet on the football field who has a coach screaming at him, you got to want it more, Bobby. It's, to pardon the phrase, pissing in the wind. I mean, Bobby obviously does not want it. He's likely there on the field because he thinks he should. His dad expects him to, or his brothers played football and he's expected to, or his friends play and he expects himself to, or he thinks girls like football players. I mean, whatever the case may be, Bobby does not, in fact, want to play football. He may even want the acclaim that could come from being a star high school player, but he doesn't, in fact, enjoy football. This killing himself out on the field, I mean, it's just not attractive. I mean, the coach would be better to sit down with Bobby and ask him, look, do you really want to play? And when Bobby invariably mumbles, yes, the coach should then, of course, ask, well, why? Why, Bobby? Get to the root of it. And Bobby will likely say, I don't know, which is a giant red flag. Or say the truth, dad expects me, or girls like football players, I think. Bobby will be best served to be told those aren't good enough reasons. If he can't find a true reason to want to play football for himself, go do something else. Save the team, the coach, and himself the heartache of that. Go do another sport or chess or pursue art or something that falls in line with whatever his true desires and makeup and motives are. So when you hear that, you got to want it more. You can know the true statement is apparently you don't really want this, and dig into that root right there. That's where we go awry with the inspiration and motivation and trying to inspire somebody and motivate them to do something that they just don't really want. That's what we're talking about here. What do you really want? Once you find that, you won't need so much darn inspiration, motivation. Need some, but not so much. Next is the issue of believing in yourself. You got to believe it for yourself, right? Believe in yourself. In episode 16 of the Motive Podcast, I discussed wanting to want and belief and being able to see yourself doing what it takes and achieving the end goal. And those perspectives are very important. But now I'm going to give a caveat to that, another perspective. There have also been some wants that I personally have pursued where I could not tell you that I really believed in myself in regards to them. I've seen so many people achieve great successes. They never really believed, sat down and said, yeah, I believe I can. What happens? They found a reason that was big enough for them to go ahead with anyways. And I mean, if you ask me right now, can you swim, Kevin, 3 miles through choppy ocean waters during a storm from one point to another? Honestly, I don't know if I could. I'm a mediocre swimmer with a very healthy fear of deep open water. However, put one of my kids 3 miles out there drowning, I'm not going to question my belief, man. I'm just going and I'll probably succeed. It was around 2005. My wife and I were thinking hard about our lifestyle. We had recently moved our family, kind of really changed our lives. I quit cycling and we ended up in Colorado and quickly had two more kids. And I really longed to live on land with plenty of space and privacy and adventure around. I'd wanted that since I was a kid, actually. I grew up in a neighborhood, but I wanted that. And we looked at so many homes, never found a home that we liked, the land that we really liked. And we actually just kind of gave up for a while. And then one day we found this plot of land, looked to be a dream spot for us. We jumped in the car, found it. My wife literally teared up as we're walking around. She said, it's just too much to hope for. Well, there's my motive right there. I want to fulfill that for her, for what I get out of fulfilling her. And that was on a Saturday. On Monday, I contacted the realtor. Within days, we offered the asking price. It was going, people were making offers left and right. So we offered the asking price. Boom, there we've got the land. Now it needs a house. To that point, I had built a set of shelves once with borrowed tools. That was it. But we set out to design the house, to general contract it, and to build as much of the house as possible. So I was coming out of a bad business decision. I didn't have the money to just pay to have this done. And we wanted a big home. I mean, if we're going to do it, I wanted to do it. So how do we get this big home that we want for this big family and, friends that and family, extended family, that we had this dream of this host being a big place to host people, this house to be able to host people. And so how do we do it? I had no time either. I was building businesses. And again, I wasn't making a whole lot of money at the time. I didn't have the know-how. And I actually had concerned friends intervene, kind of do like one of those intervention things that wisely showcased to us that we had no business doing this. And it was really hard to argue with them. And I'm not going to justify the whole ordeal and what we did and how we did it, but it's just a shining example of my reason, my motive being paramount. We wanted this home for our family so much that we really just bypassed belief. I didn't even question my belief. We just went forward day by day. And in September of 2008, we moved in. And looking back now, over 12 years later, if you ask me how we did it, my honest answer to God is I don't know. I'm not sure. There are things that I did on the house. Like I'll remember, gosh, I did that. I don't have any memory of that. I don't know how I did. I couldn't repeat that. I had to go learn how to do it again. We were just driven by this incredibly strong motive reason to have this type of home, this place for our kids and us to be in now while they're growing up, not after. I see that happen. My parents did that. God bless them. But they found the dream place. I wish I'd have grown up there, but that was after I was gone. I was already out of the house, and even that was a motive for me. I wanted it now, and so we made it happen and surpassed our belief. So if you have a strong motive, significant reasons for a certain outcome, you can often find the drive to take action and go forward, even though you don't specifically see yourself doing what it takes or achieving the end goal. You can't, in fact, say, "Oh yes, I believe in myself in this." So, where do you begin? So we're talking about this. How do we understand? Okay, what do I want in life? Because that sounds so big and overwhelming. What do I want in life? My gosh, there's like the holy grail of all questions. What is my purpose? But what do I want in life? And I'm not going to claim to have some secret here. Nothing Solomon in the Bible eons ago said there's nothing new under the sun. This is a new way of looking at something that's been expressed for a long time by a lot of people, and it still is today. But this is a different way of looking at it. Um, if you can find, again, that if you can understand some of the areas and some of the things you want, and then understand why you want them and come into alignment, it is dramatically strong. So I'm a big fan of the Matrix movies. More than a fan, I'm a believer. In the first movie, if you know it, or even if you don't, the main character Neo ends up on the Nebuchadnezzar. He comes out of the Matrix, this make believe computerized world, and he ends up on the Nebuchadnezzar, this hover ship in the real world. And they begin his training by jacking him into a combat training program. So he lays down, they insert a probe into the back of his head, hit download, and bam, he just learns jujitsu. I want that with the books I read and the knowledge I desire. This exercise, what we're talking about here. Don't you want to just hear this and then jack it in? Boom, you got it. To read it, hear it, understand it, be able to walk it out successfully. But as you know, knowledge and change does not work like that. But when I hear these, read these books and they tell me to do the exercise at the end of the chapter or the appendix or go download a course, I'm prone to skip past it, especially if it's a really long, detailed and drawn out process. So I don't want to do that to you now, but aligning your desires and your motives does take a little work, but you can do it. You could do it on one piece of paper or a Google Doc. The place to start is listing simply and brief, simply down and jot down your wants, your desires, pen and paper in your journal, document on your computer, whatever. It does not have to be any overwhelming task. In motive episode number 7, I covered the areas of life where we find the most fulfillment and why. It's a great overview for main categories that will be relevant for you. You know what? I'll shoot them off to you right here. You can just jot the list down. Physical, mental. This comes from the Ziegler Wheel of Life. There's lots of different ones, but I use that, of course, as I'm the host of the Ziegler Show. Physical, relational, number 2. 3 is mental. 4 is financial, and I will repeat these. 5, spiritual. 6, vocational. 7, personal. So the main bulk of this episode right here, I'm just going to talk you through those, just give you some joggers, some thought joggers in these areas. I'm not going to unpack these, fully. I mean, to do that would be a book in and of itself. I'm writing a book actually with this stuff, but let's go to physical. Okay. What do you want for your physical wellness? This is a primary area of life. Again, these are primary areas of fulfillment that we as humans desire, have wants in. Physical. What do you want for your personal health and wellness? What abilities do you want to have? Or to put it another way, what infirmities or disabilities or handicaps are you okay with? What capability and capacity do you want? I mean, I love being an athlete. It's part of my residual self-image, to make a matrix reference again. You may not care to have the physical abilities that I enjoy, that I want to maintain, but what do you want? What do you want? What do you want to be capable? What do you want this physical body that you live in to be capable of? And again, what maladies and things do you not want? Just list them out, write them out. This is what I want. This is how I'd like to experience myself. And in the same way, aesthetically, what do you want to look like? What do you not want to look like? Write it down. What inspires you? What would you like to look in the mirror? What would you be inspired to look in the mirror and see? Write it down. And then next to those wants, those desires, those goals, list out why. Why do you want to be able to do that? Why do you not want that infirmity or that malady? Why do you want to look that way? This is the kicker. This is the revealer in all these. If that why doesn't excite you or feel fulfilling, that's a red flag. I mean, I could be tempted to write down, like from a health and wellness standpoint, I want to be more flexible. I know it's a valuable thing for your health and wellness. I want to be more flexible. But when I write that down and have to put down the why, it's right now in my life, it's just a should. I really just don't care enough at this point in my life to make it a priority. I'm doing a lot of other good things, a lot of good things that people aren't doing, but that's just one. I'm just not there yet. I got lots of friends in the fitness world who are going to chide me for saying this. And I'm not arguing with them, just being honest. So I'm not going to put down, I want to be more flexible. I have before, and I'm realizing at this point, there's some other things that are more party. It's not high on my list right now. My motive's not enough at this point. So for now, I'm at peace with it. I'm going to leave it off my list. What do you want and why? What is authentically true to to what you really want? Because you see the why, and the why you agree with. It feels good. It feels right to you and you alone. Number two, relational. What do you think you want for your relationships in your life? A mate, partner, a spouse, children, friends, mentors, better relationships with people you work with, more social groups and interaction. Write down, what do you want? What do you want your relational? If somebody's to audit your relationships, hey, let's look at Bob's or Betty's, relationships. What do you want them to say? What would you like to realize yourself at? Again, for you, because then the question is why? Why do you want that? For instance, I see a lot of my fellow business friends. So I'm in this business community, and as a guy, most of them are guys, but girls as well. But they're so connected. They're always, showing pictures, especially before COVID, pictures of being at this event with these people and having these mastermind gatherings and doing these adventures together and stuff like that. And I actually see the same thing with on the athletic side. I'm a part of a lot of online groups like mountain biking groups and hydro. It's a rowing machine that I'm in. Gosh, I think there's another one, but these groups that I'm in, and I'm in there for information. I'll ask questions on XYZ or ask about a certain trail. I love it for the information, but they are all so often getting together, group rides, group runs, group activities. I've got a friend who loves to do that, go out mountain biking with the guys and tailgate afterwards. And I've done that, and I do it occasionally. However, and that's so it's tempting to say, oh, I want more of that, but I really don't. I have a wife of 28 years and a big family. I have a lot of social aspects to my life, and their friends coming over. So we just got a big home and a lot going on. And I'm a homebody due to that. It's hard to just take off, and I don't really want to. And then I like getting away by myself for solitude. I'll talk about that more in just a second. I also share offices with my business partner and outside of my wife, my closest friend, Dr. Randy James. I mean, we do life together. He's like more than a brother. It's like another marriage outside of the romance part. I've got that. A lot of people don't, and that means the world to me. It's a really intimate relationship. So it's tempting to want to say, I want those social groups, but I don't. Sometimes I will do it for the investment of relationships, but it's not one. So I'm just not going to make that a priority on my list. It's not for me and me alone. It's not something I truly, really want. And I just have to be honest about that, like flexibility. So again, what do you want relationally? What kind of relationships do you want? And then why do you want those? Number three is mental. Very similar to physical in regards to what abilities, capacity do you want? What level of stress or peace do you want? What amount of knowledge and awareness do you want? This is a seldom thought out area of our life, and yet arguably, one of the most important. It's our mental state. How do you want to feel about yourself? How do you want to feel about others and the world? What mental state? I like that word, mental state. What mental state do I want to have ongoing? Do I want to be frazzled? Do I want to be stressed? Do I want to be scatterbrained? That's one that hit me as my wife started kind of referring to me as the absent-minded professor, which I can take to some ego. Oh yeah, man, I'm so brilliant. I got so many ideas going on all the time, man. I can't be present here in the normal. I don't remember that because I'm thinking about all this. And I tend to even kind of like that. But then really, the absent-minded, do I want my kids? Oh, dad's the absent-minded. No, I want to be present. I want them thinking, no, man, when I'm with my dad, he's with me. I want my wife to think that I'm listening and I'm caring. I want to be the absent-minded, person. So again, what do we want to embrace? What have we agreed with? And what do we really want to be mentally? What mental strength do we want? And then again, why? What are the motives? What are the reasons for what we say we want mentally? And do those reasons excite you or cause you dread? That's what we're weighing here. 4 is financial. And this one is so rife with cultural and relational expectations. And I want you to include in this possessions. as well as those are mirrored with finances. If you want a new car, for instance, I mean, that's a big financial decision and a clear place to ask yourself, well, why? Do you really want it for you or just to impress someone? Though even that, to impress someone it may not be a negative thing. Let's say if you're a realtor and you realize, man, if I was driving around in a new Mercedes SUV late model instead of an old Explorer or Tahoe, it's going to position you in a different light with your, vendors and customers. That can be something again that's for you. It's to impress them, but it's for my benefit. I'm doing it for me, my benefit. It's for your progress. Or if you just feel better about your own self-image in a fancy car, it may be worth it. I like being well able to afford a Mercedes SUV, but driving a 20-year-old Suburban. Though I have considered a Porsche Cayenne for a long time, just for a change. But I don't want enough to hassle with it yet. But again, finances, the trappings that come along with finances. What do you really want? What's really important to you? Do you want to make $250,000 a year? Or do you not really? Not really. You think you should, but you don't. Your friends do. Your brother does. Your dad does. Whatever. But do you? Why? Do you want a bigger home? Really? Why? And I'm an admitted dichotomy, and I find a lot of people are. A lot of people. I don't know if it's most will, at whatever socioeconomic level they are, they'll have everything kind of at that level. But I do see a lot of people like me are kind of schizophrenic. I've got a $500 sports watch because I really wanted what this watch did. Um, I wear expensive, shoes for all my different endeavors. It's my foundation. I got a thing for shoes, having really quality ones. I have a $5,000 mountain bike. But then, as I said, I drive around with those things in my $2,000 truck. We've got a really large custom home on prime real estate that I mentioned, but the home has no design. It's a big box. It is totally utilitarian. A lot of people would be are surprised, I think, and maybe not super impressed. Like, really, it's kind of cool, but it's really weird. But it fits what we care about. However, when my wife and I go on getaways, we stay at superb high-end hotels and resorts. I can't explain why we have those desires, and I mean, I understand the motives behind them, but why are they so dissimilar? I don't know, but it's just where we found peace, and that's the point, and fulfillment. So again, listing out what do you want financially, possessions, whatever, and then why, and what are you at peace with for you? Spiritual. Most will struggle on this one because most people more and more these days have no tangible conscious thoughts. And I'm not here to diss you if you don't. I'm not going to belabor this one either. But having a spiritual faith and a perspective of a bigger picture and purpose other than just yourself, I find to be a key ingredient in people's overall success and ultimate fulfillment in life. And the lack of which I really feel is why we have less people doing anything of worth with their lives and a growing epidemic of depression and despair and purposelessness. Relationships, I mean, ultimately end up as people's core desire and value in life. And I've just really yet to meet many people with truly rich, deep, abiding relationships who don't also have a solid spiritual faith. But you may find yourself fairly blank on this one, and I'm not capable of unpacking this one here, but I encourage you to take some time to consider, what do you want here, if anything, and why? If you don't want anything, there's one. If you don't want anything, why? And it may be just to discover and develop a faith you can rest in, or that you don't want to, but know why. And we're looking for peace and fulfillment here. Number 6 is vocational, and that's a biggie, so monumental. Amazing how many people find themselves in a okay job, good money, but they've never considered what they truly want vocationally. Even just the concept of what you would choose to spend your day working at is a big deal. Day in, day out, week and month out, and year in and year out. Not forever. I mean, a lot of people are these days more and more are going to have multiple careers, multiple jobs at least, or roles in the career. But notice I referenced what you would spend your time working on, not playing, working. Providing anything of value to others is going to be work. But if you care about it, it's going to be fulfilling work. My gosh, I'm grateful to be fulfilled writing this message here and bringing it to you from the years of experience that I've been blessed to have. But it's not play, and it's hard work, mentally challenging. Then to that aspect of multiple careers, I've had so many businesses and endeavors myself. I find more and more people, do successful people on the bookshelf behind me, they have done a lot of different things, but in all of them, they've been doing pretty much the same thing, working with their primary skills and abilities that they're aware of. So there, what do you want for your vocation? Where do you want to work? How do you want to work? Doing what? In what roles? In what environment? Producing what value for who? My dad, as a resource, Dan Miller, renowned for his book, 48 Days of the Work You Love, killer resource. You find it at 48days.com. Killer resource for your vocation and these questions, whether you're, as an employee or a business owner. What do you want and why? Last one, personal, number 7. Our vocations and our work and then our relationships, especially if you have a family, often develop into what we do. And what do you do for yourself? I work and I take care of my family. I'm a business person or an employee, whatever role that is, and I'm a parent. And we often define ourselves by these roles, and less we do anything or have any investment outside of this. But man, again, in interviewing over 150 of today's top world leaders and influencers, I found that about 90% of them have outside interests they invest in, things that inspire them, things that give them joy. Call it play or hobby or adventure or self-care. I mean, the myth is that these people arrived at their success and can now afford the time and money to invest in and enjoy themselves. And I found just the opposite. Investing in themselves all along is what helped them achieve their successes. My wife and I have worked so hard through the feeling of guilt for taking time for ourselves, as we now realize it just makes us better people for each other and our family. I want her to go do her thing because she's better to me. It's my self-interest. She's better for me when she goes and takes care of herself. Better for the family. I mean, my daily excursions to bike or run on trails through the mountains and the woods are what inspire me to be better in my work and my business, to be a more joyful and effective spouse and father. When my wife and I got married, I was a professional cyclist. 2 years later, we had a son with significant medical problems, and life just took a 180. I quit cycling, quit any athletic endeavors for the next couple of years, actually. And finally, my wife buys me a bike without my knowledge, surprises me with it. Her and the local bike shop owner. She said I was a better person when I was pursuing my athletic achievements. She didn't even say go ride. She says go train. And they got me back into racing. Thank goodness. She said, again, I'm just a better person then. And today I treat it like sleeping. I don't feel guilt for going to bed to get 8 hours of solid sleep. That's what fuels and enables me to do what I do. And in the same way, I don't feel guilt amongst our business and our family and to head out midday for an hour to be in the woods, expending myself. And it's fun. It fuels me. My wife and I take quarterly getaways from our family just together for ourselves, or, for each other, with each other. And then I also take quarterly getaways solo to have solitude that fills me. It's not a luxury. It's a necessity if I want to be producing at a high level, if I want joy and fulfillment. I mean, as a husband to one and a father to 9, now 3 kids, I'm not just a mule. I'm not just here to fulfill the role of a mule. I'm not just a husband or a father or a CEO or an author or a podcaster. I am Kevin. I mean, I'm an individual. I exist outside of those roles. If they all disappear, I still exist. So would you? Who do you want to be and what do you want to do outside of those roles? Awesome life-giving roles. My gosh, don't get me wrong. Even if I say, man, being a father is the greatest thing I'll ever do, but do I exist outside of it? Got to. If I'm going to be full. What gives you joy that will provide fulfillment at the end of your week, your month, your year, your life? I mean, do you love to dance? Make it a consistent outlet in your life. My wife does. You like to do crafts? You enjoy writing, playing tennis, traveling, going to ball games or concerts, getting a massage or a pedicure. I mean, sometimes in a tight financial time in the past, my wife would go get a manicure or pedicure just to get her head out of that poverty feeling mentality. It filled her. So as your list of joys and passions and play grows, so will your overall fulfillment and capacity and faith in life. So what fills you? What will make you the best you and why? So all this we just went over, you may be able to whip it out in 15, 20 minutes. If you're fairly aware of yourself. For others, it's going to take longer. It's not super complex, but it does require introspection. And sometimes we can find ourselves not having exercised that muscle of introspection in a good while. We hear a lot, we take in a lot, but do we really sit and introspect? I mean, the areas of fulfillment that you succeed with in your life are where your desire and motive are in alignment. You're clear on what you authentically desire, what you want, and your agreement with the reason behind wanting it. You know, as I've shared, I mean, the physical category, it's a big one for me. It's easy for me. It's joy and play. I know what I desire, the motives behind it. I don't have to try. I don't even, I don't need to work to inspire and motivate myself at all. At this point, I don't need a specific plan. I don't have one. I just wake up each day and I'm going to spontaneously pursue and invest and make deposits in my health. Now, finances in some areas of relationship are not so easy. I have to be far more intentional on the habits and the routines and my mindset here. But the difficult areas are still so much easier than they used to be. There's far more peace and less striving and stress than there used to be because I'm clear on what I desire and my motives, even though they don't embody the same joy and ease as other categories. You know, finances versus physical, for instance. So let me reiterate once more, as one of my good friends taught me for the Department of Redundancy Department. What you want is alignment. Your desires, your wants, and your motives, your reasons are together and they're true. You're doing it for you and you know why. And you agree with that. It's not about wanting it enough, but simply wanting it authentically. You don't have to grit your teeth or rely on willpower, as Dr. Ben Hardy states. You simply take a step forward with confidence, then another and another. Run, jump, skip, whatever you want to do. Hit turbo, take a massive leap, or just take one step and then another. I mean, again, with the so many people that I've sat with, these incredible, influential people, successful people, leaders, some were rabbits, some were turtles in their stories. They all ended up at the same place: fulfillment, success, achievements. They were not spinning their wheels or going backwards. They were making forward progress day by day, constant deposits. I mean, the old adage of, hey, anyone can do this. It's an irrelevant statement, as many just will never have the awareness to contemplate it. But you obviously do. And you're the one who can, only one who can talk you out of and keep you from the fulfillment you desire, which means there's no one to blame, but consequently means there's no one to stop you. You're free from everyone but you, and you can only control you. So here we go. Let's do it.